see Mr. Wiggs, I didn't know he was having you all with books, right? But those books and that reading is important. Why is it important? Because many times, you know, who we aspire to be or what we think we want to be, it may not be sitting right around us, right? But who we aspire to be or who we want to be, somebody else has sort of blazed that path. And it's a matter of understanding how she did it or he did it, and then you apply your skills. And to know how to do that, you have got to be able to read, listen to a podcast, or do something and say, oh, this is how they did it, right? And so that reading material is so important, you know, for what we are doing. I sold that company, and I'm doing some of the things I'm doing right now. I own a mental health care company called Life Enhancement Services, right? We employ, I own a couple of businesses, I'll talk about that one first. And we provide mental and therapeutic services to people with all kinds of issues. You hear people talking about mental health now, but I've been doing that for about 10 or 12 years. Anybody from, our headquarters is in DC. Anybody in DC, PG County, Baltimore, Northern Virginia, all that good stuff. Right. So we're all there. So in that case, we serve about 1,300 people a week with mental issues, anxiety, anger, depression. I have about 130, 140 people work for me, right? I get my money, get paid through the federal government, meaning they give me the money and then they expect me to be good stewards of their money, right? I'm gonna talk a little about finances. A lot of times when entrepreneurs get on, when they first get on, they start balling out, right? And what happens is, if you're doing too much over here, buying bottles and living like this, right, you're gonna mess this money up over here, right? And if you mess this money up, which was your business money, this money won't, you know, they won't need you no more. They're only looking for you, you know, as long as you can spend the money, right? And so, in what we do, we have to manage, and some of you will have government contracts. You have to manage that money, and then you have to adhere to whatever the government regulations are. We've done that about 10 or 12 years in DC, and we've done well. So we've expanded that business, and now we're in Houston, Texas. I don't know if any, I heard somebody, oh, right there you go, right there, Ward 5. And so we right there in Houston, we loving it. And we're doing well in Houston. Probably got about 50 people working in Houston, and in December we opened in Baltimore. I say that to say, you know, you always in business look to do well with what you're doing, but you're always looking to expand, right? That's just the reality, right? We all want to do well, but we all want a little bit more and a little bit more. So if you figure just from the mental health care thing that I own all across different states, I probably have about 200 people work for me, right? So every day I've got to be responsible, and I don't say it in a bad way, I get the opportunity to be responsible for about 200 people. That is a big weight, you know, and some people can carry it, some people can't. And I have up days and down days, but I have more up days than down, right? And so as you expand your ideas of what you want to do, some of you all will own a company with, you know, 2,000 people maybe, or something like that, right? But you have to just start here. Remember, I started out cutting grass, right? Then I started out cleaning buildings, right? So I didn't just go right into where I am today. I then bought some franchises. A franchise business is a great business. I learned about franchises early on, obviously, like McDonald's and all that kind of stuff. Now, most recently, I follow on YouTube and podcast, I follow Rick Ross a lot. And he bought these chicken franchises, right? Wingstop or something about. Anyway, and it was a crazy thing because I was listening to him about one thing, but he was really educating me on the fact that he could have done Rick Ross wings, right? But he said, I'm gonna buy a model that's already working, right? And just work with their model, right? You hear what I'm saying? So amongst all the thing he got going on with the house, the cars, the jewelry, he was really teaching a lesson, right? About how you can go into business and do something. I think he bought his son one not too long ago. And so I own these chiropractic franchises throughout Maryland, Hollis Park and Silver Spring. And we work with people who got issues with their back and other things. So I hire people who are doctors to work for me. So again, I went to A&T I don't have a degree in psychology or anything like that. I hired therapists and counselors to work for me. I hired doctors to work for me. I hired attorneys to work for me. I don't have any of those things. I graduated A&T with like a 2.2, right? And I kid you not, I never got out of here, man. And so I'm not the brightest to add 2 + 2, but I can out hustle most people. I can outthink most people. I can out common sense most people, right? I can outfigure where you already going before you tell me something, right? And so when you have that type of mentality, then you have the mentality to hire the best and brightest and not be intimidated. You just say we all working together. You bring your skills, I bring my skills, and we all figure out how to work it together, right? And so that's what I've had to do. I finally own a trucking company. So my wife and I started a trucking company about a year ago. Again, today I don't even know how to drive a truck, man. I backed it up the other day and throw something up, man. So, but I recognize that there's a big need to take some products from one place to another, right? And that you'll never be able to I use the word technology that or whatever may be the story. You always had to have a driver, and they always had to take it off the truck. And then I saw what they were paying. I'm like, man, I should have been doing this years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And so we've got trucks now, and even with that, I learned how to do it, and then I partner and got a management company to manage it for me, right? So I finance the trucks, and I get some other management. So sometimes about being in business, not you know everything. You just got to get the people that can help you with your vision, and you got to pay them for whatever they're trying to do, right? And so we do those things, including Joe asked me, says, what are some key ingredients to entrepreneurial success? Okay. I'd say, I told you about reading, daily routines. Now, I thought it was so interesting. He talked about working out in the morning, right? If you study some things about entrepreneurs, now I must admit, I can't tell you one morning I didn't work out in the last year or so, but most of them will get up and work out in the morning, right? It's a crazy thing. They will work out. My home in DC is right beside the gym, and every day I see these people going there, and sometimes I'm out talking to them, and they'll be their own business, but they do something big in corporate America, right? They're not sleeping in at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. You gotta have integrity. No business has been around that I know without some type of integrity, right? We all in business people may cut corners here and there, but you've got to have integrity to both your customers and your employees, right? You just got to do that. You got to plan for today and tomorrow. Every day, now I'm back on the phone, man, planning for tomorrow. But then I'm calling people in Houston saying, they're supposed to be at a happy hour tonight doing some business. What's going on down there, right? The business people stay in a non-restful position. Am I right, Joe? They just never wind all the way down, right? And if you're that type of person and who can live like that, fine. That's great. I understand that to be in business, you're gonna have some terrible failures, right? That's the one part people don't understand, right? You're gonna have some days on Monday, man, your pockets is full of money. And then by Wednesday, you wiped out. And then by Monday, you kind of back at it again. If you can live like that for some years, then fine. If you can't, this is what world is really not for you, right? But that's the way they do. I read something the other day that I think it was Amazon. They have a bunch of products out there and services, and they only realize that 5% of their ideas are going to work. But if one of those 5% worked, it took care of the 95% that didn't work. That's kind of how we are in business. I tried to go in New Orleans, I tried to go into Columbia, South Carolina. None of them worked. I just needed one of them to work, right? And one of them worked, and that was DC and now Houston, right? That's kind of how entrepreneurship is. You might have a cupcake, business. You might say, man, this is the best cupcake on earth. It don't work, but if you got 6 other that work, then you're good, right? I simplified it, but that's the way it is. You got to understand, last 2 points.